Got a microphone. Okay. Mike and Phoenix, how are you guys?
Doing well.
Welcome
How are
back
you doing,
to
Mike?
Phoenix.
I'm good, fine, thanks.
Well, thank you for joining us here and your fans. You're going to ask some questions here, Q&A with Linkin Park.
Yes.
Let's take the first question from Nancy here.
Hi.
Hi, Nancy.
My question's for Mike. How has your transition from rapper to an all-around instrumentalist helped you to grow as an artist?
Well, that's mostly that I guess that development has happened more on stage than anything. I grew up playing piano and later playing guitar, so none of that's actually new to me. It's just a matter of kind of doing it more on stage. But the repetition of it is really good, I guess, for practice. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of what came to mind.
Jeremy's got a question.
How's it going? How has the collaboration with Rick Rubin helped influence you guys as a band?
I love Rick. I think Rick's great. He's a great kind of just what's the word? He has this like energy about him. Yeah, everybody you meet him, there's a different dynamic that happens with different groups of people, and putting Rick in the mix for us, it's been great for these last two records. Because we really wanted to do something different, particularly moving into Minutes to Midnight and then transitioning to this new record, 1,000 Suns. It was kind of like we just wanted to do something that was surprising, that felt like we were surprising ourselves. It felt different, felt challenging, and one thing that I think works well with us and Rick is that he's not trying to really steer the ship. He's really just supporting whatever we want to do, and trying to, if we need some direction, he can hopefully point us in the right direction.
Keep you on the train tracks.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like when there was one moment when we were having a little bit of a tough time writing lyrics. I always tell people about this story because I feel like it was a really it was a special moment that really defined kind of the working style of the record. We were trying to think of lyrics to the song Blackout, actually, and we kept we had this scat vocal which determined like it sounded like what the vocal sounds like. So it was a screamy vocal, it had that rhythm to it, whatever, but the words we didn't have, and we didn't like what we were coming up with. Chester and I both took stabs at it and didn't like it, and we asked Rick what we should try next. And when I tell people like he doesn't tell you what it should be, this is an example of kind of what he actually does. He said, well, have you ever tried automatic writing? And we said no. And he said, well, try, I've done it with these different artists, and he named off some really amazing, like Tom Petty and Johnny Cash, and he said, I think it was Neil Young too, and he said, what you do is you basically go in and you just start you start pretending the words are there, and you just say whatever comes to mind. And it's actually doing it. It's actually kind of terrifying because you're afraid you'll say something weird or revealing or offensive, or there's a million things you could say that you don't want on tape, right? You could say something nasty about somebody. You could say all kinds of weird things. You could say something that you don't even mean. And he said, don't worry about that. Just go in there and do it. And we kind of got over our fear of it, and it really informed our process. So he didn't actually say, make it sound like this or use these words or anything. He just said, here's a technique, try it. And we used it once, and we loved it so much that we used it on like pretty much the entire record.
Anthony, you got a question?
Yeah, I just want to know, is like any like rituals or something that the band does to prepare for go on stage?
You do a lot of stretching. You guys play a long time now.
I was just gonna be I was gonna try to be the Rick Rubin of this interview and just try and make sure you stayed on the tracks. No?
You want me to keep answering?
I'll keep you on the tracks. Rituals, not really. No. We behead a live chicken and just the normal stuff, but no real rituals.
We did that whether or not there's a show, though.
Yeah, that has less to do with music.
I was just wondering how the recording process is different for the new albums as opposed to the older ones.
I think it's different. It's different for us a little bit every time, in a good way. Every album, everything about it is different, I would say. We've worked in different places, different studios, had different levels of home studios set up that we could work, at each other's places. Just the process and how we go about doing, even our writing is always different. So there isn't, I think in the best way possible, that we don't really have a formula or an idea of how to put something together. It's just more a matter, at least from my perspective, it's more a matter of the stuff that's making you the most excited, the stuff that's kind of engaging you and feeling creative. That's the stuff that's exciting.
Like an example of that right now is that, like, for the next record, like, we're always writing, you know, so right now we're doing stuff on our laptops on the road and using different software that we haven't used before, and that alone just makes it feel a little bit different, makes it feel fresh. And I think for us, definitely, like, the feeling of stuff being different really keeps us entertained, you know. I think we respond a little less favorably when it's like going back to do the exact same thing over and over again, when it comes to the studio, at least.
Mike in the audience. We got Mike. We get Mike to answer a question real quick. We're running out of time here.
Okay.
But no, go for it.
You want me to?
Yeah, go.
Okay. I was just wondering. when
You're
you
not
fir-
Mike, I take
I'm
it.
not Mike.
What's your
Not
name?
lately, Wendy.
Wendy.
I was just wondering, when you first started out, who was your support and how has it made you the artist you are today?
We've always had pretty strong friends and family around. I guess that's true. I think that's still consistent for me, at least.
I've always leaned heavily on Mike. Now he's just an a-hole.
I always joke. I to get a little maybe too serious, but
you're gonna just railroad that.
and
Go.
this guy, but this guy, yeah, I'm totally gonna kill your joke. He, Phoenix is funny because we actually did in the very, very beginning. We didn't have Phoenix with us. He had a previous commitment to another band. Some friends of his, and left and did that, and that was really a bummer. Because, like I was talking about, with like the dynamic of different people being together, the dynamic with him in the band is definitely like that's a good dynamic for us, I think. So we were lucky that he was able to come back.
Very lucky.
Yeah, because
Very
basically,
lucky.
who else would we pick on? You know, I mean, like there's the other guy was anybody else we put in his shoes was just way too smart.
And talented. You've got to have the.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's totally
if you've
what I
got 6 people, you've got to have the least talented one in the room at any given point. So, but most handsome.
Most handsome. What about Mike?
We have one more for Mike. He's got a great question. Mike, we're waiting for it.
I just wondering what kept you guys together this long.
When I hear you've got a great question, I'm always thinking like, is it boxers or briefs? Or
What's your favorite kind of ice cream?
where'd you get the band name? That kind of a question.
Those are our favorite questions.
I don't know if you guys realize it, but that's like the biggest. Never ask a band that. Radio people included.
They were like, oh.
Just look on their website. What was the question?
Inspiration.
It was
You guys together this long.
a sense of humor.
Yeah, I think at this point, I mean, anybody, I think if you're in a band, you'd understand that there's a lot of different dynamics that come into play, especially with 6 guys. But at this point, you know, we've kind of figured out how that works amongst the 6 of us, and it's a really good environment. I would definitely, I mean, the 6 of us get along great. Families get along really well. I think that the toughest thing for us, but the thing that at this stage we're doing really well, is just you've got to respect, like, you got to respect the other people, but you got to respect their opinions on what you're doing creatively and kind of what they want and where they're coming from. So that's we end up doing a lot of talking and communicating. We have like a weekly meeting, as weird as that sounds, but we just sit down and at the studio kind of evaluate with where we're at the music, but also just kind of get caught up on how everyone's feeling with what's going on, where everyone's at, where they want things to go, etc., to really try and make sure we're on the same page.
And really to just like dictate what, I mean, you know, when we sit down, I basically we listen to everybody, and then I tell everybody how it's going to be and what we're going to do and which songs we're playing and what's happening with the band, and then they listen and we leave.
Yes.
Like a lot of marriage counseling. You guys should take it up later. For the time.
That's what I just described as like the opposite of what would work for our band.
You guys are sitting down and chatting with us.
Thank you for having us and putting up with our silliness.